Hello and a very warm welcome to round 4 of the FIM Asia Road Racing Championship. We're here live at Sepang in the heart of Malaysia, and the bikes you can see coming out on your screen now are the Underbones, who are coming out for their qualifying session this morning. And if you're wondering about the format of this race, If you're wondering about the format of this race, this is the second day, in fact, of practice. We began yesterday, and the reason for that is that ARRC round 4 is running together with MSBK final round. So this is day 2, and this is the qualifying session for Underbones. They had 2 free practice sessions yesterday. I'm Barry Russell. I'll be here all day with you, together with Daniel Bogers. Daniel, good morning. You watched the qualifying and talked about the qualifying yesterday. The practice yesterday. What did you make of it?
Yeah, it was interesting. We saw there was a big advantage coming in the hands of the 1XOX TKKRT. We saw the likes of Hafiza Rofa, Fazli Sham, as well as Chuffy Russell. They seemed to be really on pace, but Pierre-Pong Lui Bumpeng as well, he was well within the front group. And if you look at Gupita Kresna, he was always just waiting behind everyone. He was getting well within the top 10, so it's a tough one to call. Everyone's performing quite well. Even April King Mascarda was doing a good job in practice 1 and practice 2.
Yeah, and I noticed that Fazli Sham put in a really fast time in free practice 2 yesterday. I subsequently saw him in pit lane after everything had finished yesterday, and he was pretty pleased with that. He was looking for a 2:33, but got a 2:32. He also said he thought that the rest of the field would just dial up the power a little bit for today, and that the gap would probably close. But we know what a clever racer Fazli Sham is.
Yeah, that lap from him came as quite a surprise. I remember that watching that lap. He was just pacing himself at the back of the group, and somehow he just ended up at the front when he reached the front straight. And out of nowhere, that really, really fast time of 2:32 came out. Oh, dear. This is Nguyen Antoine that's gone off here.
Yeah, so that's an early excursion for Nguyen Antoine, who we spoke to yesterday. He came in for an interview in between sessions. One of 2 Vietnamese riders here, and there's another Vietnamese rider, Cao Vietnam, in the AP250. So 3 in this series, and ARRC all together. So a nice little procession there going out on track. They will need to speed it up a little bit. And of course, Daniel, the name of the game here is to get within the top 15 fastest, because later this morning, as you will see from the program, there is a Super Pole competition. I'm sorry, this Super Pole is this afternoon. They'll have their Super Pole session this afternoon, and the top 15 from this session will go out there, and they will go out one at a time at 20-second intervals in order to determine the first 15 grid positions. So, as we were saying, the name of the game here is to get into that top 15.
Yeah, definitely is, and we could see the difference actually in practice 1 and practice 2, the way the riders were taking their laps. In practice 1, we saw a lot of the riders just mostly riding by themselves in maybe groups of 2 or 3s. In practice 2, then we started seeing everyone group up as we usually see the Underbone riders. So perhaps practice 1 was just them gauging the setup on the bike, trying to find the right tuning, the right suspension setup. And then when it came to practice 2, everyone just started swarming together. We started seeing the lap times drop steadily.
And indeed, there's a swarm forming that we're looking at right now. And the lanky form there of Ahmad Fazli Sham, who did that fantastic time yesterday. He's being chased by, was that one of the Cardinals bikes? Didn't quite catch it, no.
I think right now the rider that I'm actually expecting today to start to perform better is Mohamed Kiandra, because we saw in round 2 he had a spectacular podium finish at the end of the race, the second race. But yesterday was a bit underwhelming for Mohamed Kiandra. Of course, he's a very young rider. He's had to deal with the conditions that we had yesterday, which were very gloomy. It wasn't the most ideal conditions for riding and racing. So perhaps today might be a better day for him.
Yeah, hopefully. He certainly captured a few hearts back in round 2. So firstly, Shan riding, of course, for 1XOX TKKR, together with Hafiza Rofa, also on 1XOX machine, and he won spectacularally in round 2. Came absolutely from what looked like nowhere out of the final turn to take a win from, just from memory, from Aguchi, who we thought was going to win.
Speaking of Aguchi, he had a bit of a struggle all throughout yesterday. The fastest time he did was a 2:34.955, which is not to say too far off the pace of the front group, but in comparison, Amafazi Sham, Chuffy Russell, they were able to do 2:32 and a 2:33. So a bit more to be found for Aguchi. Combined, he placed 14th yesterday in the practice sessions. Here we can see Epoke Mascardo as well as Gupita Kresna, who had a really good day yesterday.
Yeah, Gupita was in what, the 2:33s yesterday?
Yeah, he was 2:34, sorry, the lower 2:34s.
Okay, so that's decent pace for free practice for sure. Kiandra, you're just talking about, just popping up on the screen there in 11th.
I think Mohamed Kiandra, he's doing something which is definitely recommended in this kind of category. He's just trying to latch behind some of the faster riders in this group. We saw him just now trying to tail Amafazi Sham. Now he's right on the back of, I believe that's a group with Gupita Kresna and Aguchi, as well as Nazirul Izzat.
Yeah, as you say, Daniel, that's exactly what he should be doing at this stage in his career and at this stage in the meeting. He's already shown us his racecraft.
Another rider to look out for is Shahrukh Shazras. He was the wildcard rider in round 2 in Sepang, and he had an amazing pole position lap. And to be wildcard and straight on pole is something it's not easy to do. It takes a lot of skill, it takes a lot of calmness. It was unfortunate for him in the races, however, he did crash out at turn 9. But this time around as well, he's not doing too bad. He was in the top 10 timing.
Yeah, he looked like he was. He had a little bit of a red mist in round 2, but he really did set things alight. Very exciting rider, and as you say, one to watch out for.
Another one to really watch out for is Chuffy Russell here. He's another rider that's joined in the under 150 class, and he really did a great job with his teammate Amafazi Sham. Second overall fastest in the combined practices yesterday. Currently, he came across with a 2:44, so that's nowhere near where we know they can be, but that was just the first opening lap. So now we'll see the lap times drop steadily. Nazirul Izzat, he's on a hot lap. He's got the fastest time through sector 1. Ooh, getting out of shape there. I believe that was Nazirul Izzat. Nearly losing the rear of the tire.
Yeah, he had a decent day yesterday. He showed very fast out of the box, didn't he, in the first session, and Gupita Krishna's gone into number 1 with 2:33.7. So as you said, Daniel, good number 23 there, just going through your screen. Gupita Krishna, 2 times champion for Underbones, and he's going to take it easy now. Perhaps wait for something else, but that time is probably, it's safe to say, good enough. He could go back into the pits now and wait for Super Pole.
Yeah, definitely 2:33.7. That's going to be tough for them to match if we compare it to yesterday's practices. That's well enough to keep him in the top 3. Actually, he would have been second fastest in practice yesterday. So for now, he can just take a breather. Izzat Zaidi, that's just unfortunate for him.
Yeah, Izzat Zaidi, championship leader, equal on points with Aji Trilaksana, but with 1 extra win to his name, so that gives him the championship lead. That will change this weekend without a shadow of a doubt.
He hasn't set a time yet, I believe. Looking, yeah, he has yet to set a flying lap. So hopefully for him, they'll be able to get the bike back to the pits quickly and get it sorted, because there is only 18 minutes left, so they have to get moving. For now, we're looking at the group into turn 9.
Yeah, one of the riders I've been watching out for so far, Daniel, has been Dimas Juliet Moko, because he was really fast in round 2.
Yeah.
The results didn't necessarily come, but he set the fastest lap in both races. But he's not showing us too much so far in round 4.
All through yesterday, you could see in the practices he was trying to stick with the faster grids, but he was just unable to. It just seemed like there was something holding him back. So hopefully for today, he might be able to replicate what he did in round 2. Now that there's this group of about 6 riders here.
Yeah, there's some serious intent with these guys.
You see there, Mafazi Sham getting the benefit of the slipstream going into turn 15. This should be a good lap from Amafazi Sham. He was faster through the second and first sectors. Will get slipstreamed down the line by the tail of riders all behind him. John Emerson in Brito, he's going to get a good slipstream, so let's see where he goes.
Yeah, that was a great shot there of Ahmad Fazli Sham crossing the line.
Such a unique style of tucking in is Amafazi Sham. Murbil Vitoni, he's gone up into 10th place. He had a good session yesterday. He was 9th fastest overall in the practice sessions.
Yeah, that team's showing well. Murbil is on, I think I'm right in saying, a Yamaha, though the team are running both Honda and Yamaha, I think. Yoram Badaru, where is he? But he's on a Honda. Yeah, he's down in 18th currently, 237. So he's got a little bit of work to do. Afif Amran and Gupita Krishna there, two of the most accomplished riders in this class, perhaps just going through there. Uezu cruising to let that group through.
The young rider we mentioned earlier, Mohamed Kiandra, he's doing a decent job. He's in 7th right now with a 2:35.826. So it's not a really fast lap time, but as of right now, it does put him within the top 10 and the top 15, most importantly for a Super Bowl. So for now, he's in a decent position, but there is still 15 minutes left, so that could all change. And Gupita Krishna, he's on a really fast lap. Fastest sector 1 and 2 is coming in from him so far. It looks like he just backed away from this lap, which is a bit unfortunate because...
Yeah, nothing happening in that group.
That could have been a really good lap from him.
And of course, the race director will be watching this like a hawk, because as they do every time in the riders' briefing, they emphasise you must be at racing speed on the track, and it's such an important safety rule. I know I'm speaking as a former official, but it really is.
Definitely, safety is absolutely key when it comes to racing, and these riders will have been briefed numerous times on what is allowed and what is not allowed. And you can see you're booking
Uezu on the outside there, and that's one of the, that's Nguyen Duc Tan, that's the other Vietnamese rider just showing in that group. And Ivan Tyrodin. Let's take another look.
There's Ayman at the back there.
Oh, it's Afif Amran. A bit of jousting there going on. It's good, all good.
Ooh, Chuffy Russell at 2:33.244 from him.
So that was a good call, Daniel. Shafiq Rasul going to number 1. Very quick lap.
2:33.2. That's faster than what he did yesterday. Yesterday he only managed to get a 2:33.9. That's a very, very good lap from Chuffy Russell, and Ahmad Afif as well. A 2:33.698 into second.
Yeah. That punts Gupita down to 3rd place. April King Moscado we haven't had a look at yet, but he's been in that top 5 for all of the sessions so far.
April King is doing good work all throughout the weekend. Yesterday he was always within the front group, and this time he's planned everything correctly, and he's well into a good position for a Super Bowl. For now he's 4th. Here's Ahmad Afif, who's taken 2nd.
I'm quite impressed with how April King has come into this series. He came in as a star rider from the Philippines, but he came in knowing the standard that he was expected to reach here, and he's finished every race. Most of them haven't been spectacular finishes, but he took his first podium in Sugo, so that will have given him a step up in morale. So yeah, he could go well here.
Definitely, the first podium is always a huge boost for any rider. And yeah, I think April King, he's someone who has his mentality in the right place for coming into a new championship and new machinery and everything. It's important for riders to have this calmness to themselves, and you can see when he's riding, he's very composed. He's not doing anything too wild, and which is why also he manages to finish the races.
Yeah, it was clear just talking to him yesterday that he's a thoughtful, mature racer. So yeah, certainly wouldn't rule him out. Hand up there from Afif Amran, currently 2nd with a safe time, 2:33.7.
It looks like there might be an issue with this bike. He was looking down at the meter a few times. For now, it looks like a lot of the riders are backing off from setting any hot laps for now. I think Afif will be the first rider to head back to the pits after the session. I think this group as well, they're heading back into pit lane. Fastest top speed coming in from Hafiza Rofa, 175.9 kilometers per hour. It's pretty decent top speed, but he's all the way down into 15th, which will be just enough to get into Super Bowl.
Good enough, but at this point in the session, you wouldn't want to be hanging on there by your fingernails in 15th.
Definitely.
But we know Hafiza Rofa has got more in the tank than that.
Yeah, 236.5. I really don't think that's enough for him yet, and he definitely is a rider that can put in much better times. Yesterday he did a 234.0, so he's about a couple of seconds off pace. You see all the bikes and riders coming into pits.
Yeah, so the next time they come out will be business time to get into this, consolidate their positions in this top 15. 23 riders, I think, in this. A notable absentee we saw earlier is at Zaidi.
Yeah, he still hasn't come out yet, and there's only 10 minutes left. So this could be a real change for the championship if he doesn't manage to get the bike running and into a Super Bowl position.
Yeah, and his main championship rival, Wayuaji Trilaksana, down in 19th. So clearly some issues for him.
Yeah, Wayuaji's has been really not having the best weekend so far. We saw him, he holds the lap record in Sepang. So it realistically should have been a circuit where he really enjoys, and personally I expected him to really charge at the front immediately in yesterday's practice sessions, but it's just not gone his way yet.
Yeah, in previous rounds we've seen the imperious version of Wayuaji, looking confident, collected, really looking like the champion-elect. Things didn't go totally his way in Sugo, but well, he's a double champion. So let's see how he responds. But both the championship leaders, if we can call them that, they're both on 90 points, are out of the qualifying zone for now. As we just look at one of the Dunlop technicians walking down pit lane there, regular Underbone fans will probably know that these bikes run Dunlop Moto 3 tyres and have done for a few years now, a few seasons. which was a nice step up from the sort of sticky road tyres they were using previously.
Yeah, the better tyres will definitely give the riders a bit of an extra confidence boost. And I think the riders had no issues with riding on these Moto3 tyres. It probably suits the weight of the bike very well as well.
There were a lot of grins when they first brought them in. It might have been 2018, I'm not sure, but oh, is that?
Oh, so he's managed to come up, but he will have to really open up the taps now. He's the only rider out on track currently, if I'm not mistaken.
Just over 7.5 minutes remaining on the clock to make the cut. Each side of the cut at the moment is Hafisa Rofa in 15th, 16th Hafid Pramadatia.
Yeah, it's going to be a quick exit when all the riders are released from pit lane, because there's about 7 minutes left. So if they come out at around 5 or 6 minutes, they will have realistically one flying lap. Because each lap for them is about 2 minutes 33, 34.
Yeah,
it's going to be a close call.
Yeah, so this is a good strategy from Izzat. He obviously didn't have the best start to this session, but good for him to come out now, because they will after lunch be running alone around this track in Superpole, and he will surely lift himself into the Superpole area.
Yeah, just looking at his first sector time, it's really not too impressive. 33.8 on that sector. Second sector as well, it's decent, but he needs to be about a second faster on each sector to get into the top 15 positions. For now, he follows that Zaidi into turn 9. And you can see now on our timing screens, a lot of the riders are being released from pit lane. So we're going to see about 23 riders coming out, joining Izzat Zaidi on track.
So the pin is about to be pulled here at Sepang International for the qualifying session for the Underbone 150s. So a lot of the usual suspects coming out there, including watch out also for the orange team for one bikes of Wezu, and the sole Thai rider in this championship, Pirapong Pen. In fact, Wezu is the sole Japanese rider in this class.
Yeah, Wezu and Pirapong, they definitely are riders to look out for. Pirapong was very strong yesterday in practice, so you can definitely hope and guarantee that he's going to pull something special in the remaining 5 minutes that we have. And Wezu as well, he's in a decent position already for Superpole, but he might want to solidify that a bit more. Because this is crunch time now, and the riders will definitely be trying to push further on.
Yeah. That's not good enough for Izzat, who just crossed the line with a 2:37. But he's got another flyer. Just depends where he is on track compared to the others, whether he'll have a clear run at it.
Well, the glimmer of light for Izzat is that he might just pull in a special lap. We'll be trying to watch out for his name popping up.
It's hard to imagine that the two championship leaders will not make the cut for Superpole.
That would be a twist of the tail for sure. Looking in the distance.
We do have a few of those, yeah.
Just looking at the clouds. I saw that in the camera just now. It looks like we might be expecting rain in a few hours.
Yeah, where we're sitting now, we have some smoked glass, and it's quite disorientating, because it looks like it's gonna rain any moment, but I think it's not. When we go out into the main media centre, it looks a lot brighter. So
yeah.
Hopefully we're just worrying too much.
Is this us two commentators hoping for a bit of drama, perhaps? But actually in the distance, it does look. Well, for now it is dry, so that's the good news for the riders out on track currently. And for the next session, that will be the practice threes, the third practice sessions of the weekend. So it should be dry until then. Then again, yesterday it looked like it could have rained, but it was just gloomy all throughout the day. So it's always unpredictable here at the Sepang International Circuit. And for now, 3 minutes left in this session. You can see all the riders there on the far left of our screens.
Yeah. Well, they're going to have to pull the pin when they come round the final turn, aren't they? Because there is only time left for a single lap.
They could have had 2 laps if they really just started pushing it from this point, but everyone's just lining up now.
I know. So is that just cruising past these guys? These guys are only just about going fast enough to stay upright, I think.
Yeah, it does seem that way. I think the concern for them now is rolling speed through turn 15 to try and get some acceleration out onto the straight.
Yeah.
Because they're going really, really slow. And they're actually heading back to the pit lane for some of them. Oh, wait, no, they weren't. It looked like they were, but...
Well, they were going at the right speed for pit to pull into pit lane.
But for now, we have the 1xx riders here coming through turn 4. I believe that's Amafazi Sham at the front. Behind him, that's Wahyu Aji Trilaksana. So Wahyu Aji doing the right move there, sticking behind the rider who's fast.
So we can be pretty confident the Wahyu Aji will pull himself up into the Super Pole zone.
Just looking at the sector time, however, it's not a good first sector from Wahyu Aji. So he's going to have to really pull something special for the second, third, and fourth sector. And even sector 2 is slow as well, so I'm not sure whether they crossed with enough time to do a second lap after this.
Yeah, Hafiza currently in 15th. That will probably change shortly, but the time there is 2:36.5, which is pretty slow.
It is nowhere near what they were doing yesterday for some of the riders. Conditions-wise, it's more or less the same as well. It was gloomy weather yesterday morning, and it's gloomy weather today as well. So
it's a little bit breezy as well, I noticed, Daniel. Some of the flags flapping around out there.
It is. Well, Ahmed Afif, he's just come out of pit lane with 1 minute left, so he's not gonna make it around back to the front to the start-finish line before the time ends.
Yeah, I'm not a good numbers guy, but I don't think he's going to make it either.
Yeah. There's no way we're going to get a 50-second lap time coming from Afif right now. But here we have Mohamed Kiandra there. He's getting swamped by the 2-1xx bikes.
Kiandra in that little group as well there.
And oh, is that? I think Amafazi Sham was just giving a toe for Wahyu Aji, but it really doesn't look like it was enough because Wahyu Aji is going to come across now. Only be pushed up a couple of positions. I have no idea where his name has just disappeared on our screens, but he's only gone 17th, so Wahyu Aji really needs to push on this lap and hope that it's good enough.
Yeah. Well, he's certainly capable of that. He's running with Kiandra there, I think. And we know Kiandra is capable of that.
I believe it was him, Mohamed Kiandra, and Hafid Pratama Ditya. So these riders will take the checker flag. We have some riders who have pushed up. So Hafid Pratama Ditya, he went up into 8th. Mohamed Kiandra as well, he remains 9th. But these riders, I don't think they've done enough. Looking at the sector times, it's not looking too impressive at all.
Yeah, it's Maurizio and Pirapong crossing the line there. 2:35, 2:36 is...
Pirapong, he's gone 14th, so he's just managed to make it into a Super Bowl position, and so has Murabil Vitoni. Isa Zaidi, he took the checker flag as well, and he's not going to make it into the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I would say Pirapong's position is looking vulnerable too, with bearing in mind the riders that are still on hot laps now.
We still have Mohamed Kiandra, who's doing a lap time, but he's already in a decent position. But currently, he's still on track. Pushing is Hafiza Rofa, Wahyu Aji. Yeah, so currently Pirapong's just on the threat of Hafiza and Wahyu Aji. But once again, sector time, Wahyu Aji, he slowed down. He's just completely backed off this lap. So definitely Wahyu Aji's not on a hot lap. And here's Amafazi Sham, who is in 5th position. And he's also backed off in this lap. So it looks like everyone's just content with where they are.
Yeah, which is strange in the case of joint championship leader, if I can call him that, Wahyu Aji, because he's not going to make Super Pole. I wonder when the last time was that happened.
Yeah, it's a bit strange. The two championship leaders not making it on Super Bowl, both 18th and 20th in the qualifying session.
Well, Underbones is always full of surprises. This is another one. And we have a wild card currently sitting at the top.
Yeah, it's a fantastic rep from Chuffy Russell.
And here are the results just coming up. Chuffy Russell, the wild card we were talking about, in number 1, followed by Afifan Ram, then Gupita Krishna, April King Moscado, good performance from him in 4th, Ahmed Fazli Sham, 5th, Cheryl Shiraz in 6th, Nazrul Izzat in 7th, and Hafid Pratamatitya in 8th. 9th, Giancarlo Maurizio, 10th, Kiandra Ramadipa and Oyewezu in 11th, Afizat Supat in 12th, Shafiq Rosley 13th, 14th, Pirapong Louis Bumpeng, it looks like he did hold on, and Murabil Vitoni in 15th. Ayman Tyruddin, another fast rider, didn't make the cut in 16th, 17th, Hafisa Rofa, surprise, 18th, Wayuaji, surprise, John Emerson Guito, another fast rider, didn't make the cut, and then of course championship leader Izzat Zaidi didn't make it either. Jordan Badaru, fast rider, didn't make it. Nguyen Duktan, Dimas Juliet Moko, and Nguyen Antoine didn't make it out. So some a few on-bike calisthenics there for
Only that's April King and Nazrul Izzat there.
Well, Underbones is fun, motorcycle racing is fun, folks, so yeah.
Quite the characters.
So that is the end of qualifying. We'll be back after lunch with the Underbones for Super Pole. If you haven't seen that before, watch it. It's a really intriguing competition. That will be for the first 15 grid places. We're going to take a break now, and we will be back in about 7 minutes' time for AP250 Practice 3. Welcome back, everyone. We're here at Sepang International Circuit in the heart of Malaysia, and this is round 4 of the FIM Asia Road Racing Championship. And coming out onto the track now are the AP250s. This is their free practice session 3, so this is the last of the free practice sessions ahead of qualifying for all classes this afternoon. The schedule, you may have noticed, looks a little different this time, and that's because we're running the event over 4 days, because we're combining with the final round of the Malaysia Superbike Championship. I'm Barry Russell, and sitting next to me is dynamic Daniel Bogas. Daniel, you watched this yesterday. What stood out for you in the first 2 practice sessions?
Yeah, for me, what stood out was definitely the Astra Honda bikes. They were absolutely amazing. The pace was unmatched. Only in practice 2 we saw the likes of Aiki Iyoshi and Piawa Patumios coming closer to that timing, but in practice 1 they were doing the 225s, 226, and just no one came close to that timing yesterday. So definitely something that the Astra Honda team did was working really well for the riders, and I think definitely the other teams are a bit worried now coming into practice 3 and qualifying today.
Yeah, I noticed from practice 1, moving on from what you were saying, Herjan Atna Firdaus did a time that would have probably put him on the front row in round 2 in free practice 1.
Yeah. And it was unfortunate, however, for the likes of Adinanta Putra. In practice 1, he took a really... It was a strange crash, and it was a really hard fall for him into the gravel. But he came back in practice 2 and just took the fastest time at 2:27.179. Of course, we've had a 2:25.5 before in qualifying from the likes of Andi Muhammad Fadli. That was in round 2 that he set it. So that's a benchmark, and Herjan Atna is the only rider to come close to that so far this weekend. But we'll be looking to see what happens in practice 3. Once again, similar conditions to the weather that we had yesterday. Very cloudy, quite gloomy, not too hot.
Yeah, the weather is okay. Actually, I was talking to Senthil Chandrasekaran yesterday, and he said, oh, it's better this time because the weather is cooler. So last time it was too hot. And I said, wait a minute, you're from India, right?
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, but he's from a mountainous part of India where it's cooler, so he was feeling a lot more comfortable.
Yeah, I think a lot of the riders will be happy coming into the Malaysian weather in these hot leather suits, coming into weather like this, because it is less stressful on the rider and even for the bikes. Certain times, certain setups may suit this kind of weather better, which we saw definitely in the likes of the Astra Honda team.
Yeah, for sure, and we're just watching the championship leader there, Andi Muhammad Fadli. Round 2 was a funny one for the championship because neither of the 2 main contenders, Andi Fadli and of course Reza Danica Arens, the Astra Honda rider, scored, I think we're lucky to score 10 points each over both races. So it did nothing for the championship. That was largely affected by, in race 1, unexpected downpour of rain, and in race 2 by crashes.
Yeah, it did bring Rafid Topan and Piawa Patumios, however, a bit closer in the championship, even though the gap is quite significant between Andi Muhammad Fadli and the likes of Rafid Topan, but mathematically it's still possible. Still anything can happen in racing, so they'll definitely be fighting for all the points that they can get for the remaining 4 races that we have in this season of the Asia Road Racing Championship.
Yeah, just watching there, that's Andi Fadli being chased by Rafid Topan. The other thing about this class, just while we have a moment to talk about it, is the equalizer system that they use to keep it competitive. And I was just reviewing this yesterday. Basically, the different bikes are equalized on rev limits at the beginning of the season. And then if a rider gets away, like 25 points ahead of the rider in 6th place in the standings, then they have a rev cut of 500 revs. And Andy Fadley now has 2 rev cuts. And so he's 1,000 RPM down on, so he's running at 13,750 instead of 14,750 from memory. And that could explain why he wasn't so far up the timesheets yesterday, because at the beginning of the season, every time you looked up at the top of the timesheets, it was Andy Mohamed Fadley.
Yeah, it was always just Andy Mohamed Fadley and Aiki Yoshi who was on the screen there. It was always them that were fighting for the top spots. I can see definitely yesterday, it really took a hit for him. He only managed a 228.2, nearly a second off the pace of Adinanta Putra. So he'll have to hope that his race pace is consistent.
Who's just gone to the top of the timesheets. That's with a 227.9, so that's a long way off still. We know the pole position and the lap record.
Still a bit more to be found for all of these riders. They're just coming around now to either complete their first flying lap or start the second, complete their second flying lap as well. Compared to yesterday, we did see 226 and 225s, but most of the riders were running in the 228s and 229s. So we're hoping to see more of these times drop today.
Yeah, the conditions here are, as you described, overcast, gloomy. What difference do you think that makes, Daniel?
I think tire-wise, it does help quite a bit. The tire degradation will be less, so they can push a bit more on every lap that they have. And definitely, it's less stress on the engine, but it is a challenge for the teams. Apologies for their tuning and their setup. Ooh, I think that was Alti Satya has gone really wide. But yeah, definitely for the setup, it's going to be different because the data that they had in round 2 is going to be completely different in regards to conditions. So it is a challenge, but some of the teams are managing to work around it.
Yeah, there's 2 of the fast, well, Astra Honda have 3 fast riders. There's Adananta and Herjun, number 21 and 46, respectively, going through the screen there. And it was Herjun that did that 225 yesterday.
Done a really good lap. Adananta Putra right there in the mix with him.
Yeah, pushing quite hard. See the rear tyre slipping there as he was on full lean. Who else is coming through there?
While this is all happening, Aiki Yoshi just set the fastest lap of the session at 227.7. Another rider on a good lap is Anggi Setiawan, who's had a good session yesterday. And Reza Danica, he retakes first on the for this practice 3 session.
Yeah, so just chopping the time, a few tenths off each time. The top riders there.
Oh, and here we have it, the top 3 now. The Astra Honda Racing Team. Herjun Adna sets at 226.5. Adananta Putra at 227.1.
Yeah, they've backed off now, but we have seen a few lockouts by Astra Honda over the years, both on the starting grid and on the podium. And for now, they're locking out the top 3 places in this free practice session number 3. That's Ray Ratakore going through there. Very seasoned, very determined rider.
He's had a really good improvement in this session in comparison to yesterday. Yesterday his fastest time was at 229. Currently he has set at 227.7, so looking much better for Ray. He'll be looking to try and find his way into a good starting position for race 1 and race 2 this weekend.
Yeah, the thing for riders like him and Rafid Topan, the ones that are not quite at the top of the championship but always threatening, is to get away in that front group. And there's Piawat Patumios, who you mentioned earlier, has benefited from the misfortunes of the first 2 in the championship at Sugo in the last round.
Currently, Rafid Topan, Piawat Patumios, Aldi Satya, Aiki Yoshi, they're all still riders with mathematically a chance to claw back points in the championship and contest for it.
Yeah, the mathematical chance is to an extent helped by the equalizer strategy.
Yeah, it definitely it's definitely shown so far in the times that we've had.
I think I might have just renamed the technical approach from equalization to equalizer.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see Muhammad Fadli there going into turn 15. Rafid Topan as well.
Yeah.
Piawat, he's backed off from this this charge.
Yeah, Piawat coming in. Okay, group of fast riders coming through now. Let's see what happens to the timing screen.
Zadanica, he's on a really good lap, so he comes across now. And it's a 2:36.844 for Reza Danica. Which is actually his... oh, so he must have had a slow...
Yeah,
he slowed down at sector 4, that's what happened.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a confusing lap because he was... Yeah.
Yeah, it was fast throughout all the first three sectors. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was confused, it was almost 10 seconds slower, but yeah, sector 4 he had to slow down. I think I saw Mohammad Muzakir as well. He was somewhere in this group. He's only getting a 2:28. He's in 11th currently.
Yes, Akid Aziz coming out onto the circuit at the moment. And Herjun sitting at the top. It's still an Astra Honda lockout for the top 3 positions. But Herjun has broken into the 226s with a 226.553.
Yeah, right now we have this large group of riders all coming through turn 5 and 6. I think I see about 2 of the Astra Honda riders still in this group. And Muhammad Fadi, he's just getting swamped past by all of them throughout turn 5 and 6. And now you can see he's just struggling to really keep the pace in front because, as you mentioned, the equalizer factor that he has makes it harder for him to push. Even though it doesn't sound like a large amount to have a ref cut of, you mentioned about 1,000 RPM?
He's off 1,000, yeah.
Yeah, so, but especially in the 250 class, that can be a real hit.
Yeah, he mentioned it at Sugo as well. But it will really, he'll really feel it around Sepang.
I'm just looking at the top speeds as well. He's only managed 173 kilometers per hour on the last lap. So in comparison, everyone's doing about 185, 190. That's quite a big difference.
Yeah. See one of the wild cards there, Daniel. Number 13, Mohammed Sharol Ezwan. He's got a top speed of 195.
Yeah, that's really fast. That's nearly matching Anggi Setiawan's top speeds yesterday. So definitely the Horizon Racing team of Mohammed Sharol Ezwan really doing a good job with the setup for the bike. So not bad at all for a wildcard in the top 13 positions. Yesterday in practice as well, he wasn't too bad at all. He was constantly challenging for the top 10 spots, and he was in 8th fastest in the second practice.
Yeah, and it's break time now for most of these riders coming in now. Aldi Satya Mahendra led those in. He scored a lot of hero points in Sugo, of course, breaking his bone in his left hand and then continuing on to claim a podium.
Yeah, definitely a heroic ride from the rider. So that's one of the interesting thing about motorcycle riders, the spirit that they have, even with an injury. They can have a fractured thigh even, and they like Rossi back in the day, I think was in 2016 or 17. And it's the same story here in the ARRC Championship as well. We've seen riders pick up an injury on the same weekend itself as well and still manage to fight through the pain and perform really well.
Yeah, there's been some really standout examples. One that comes to mind is Yuki Ito in 2019 at Suzuka, who fractured, I can't remember if it was his right or left shin, and just strapped it up, and he finished, he scored a podium at Suzuka. What a warrior.
Absolutely made out of steel. For now, Aiki Yoshi, he's still on track. So looking at the timing screens, Aiki Yoshi, Anggi Setiawan, Akid Aziz, Senthil Chandrasekaran, Leong Nang Se, they are still out on track currently. Everyone else has gone back into pit lane, getting a quick drink and a quick debrief with the team, perhaps a slight change in setup for the remainder of this session.
Yeah, what they will want is for everything to be in tip-top working order for qualifying this afternoon. We do, of course, normally have qualifying on Saturday morning in ARRC, but because we're running together with MSBK final round, we're stretching the schedule out over 4 days. So it's good to, I think it's good to have the qualifying Friday afternoon.
Yeah, it gives a bit of a break in between the sessions for all the riders, and I think it's a bit less stressful to have the qualifying in the morning immediately.
Yeah, depends whether you're a morning person, Daniel.
Definitely, yeah. Me personally, I would not like qualifying in the morning. I'd still be half asleep.
Exactly.
Yeah, for now, Kiyoshi on screen, he's still lapping around. You can see the dark clouds starting to reach Sepang. I'm just wondering whether it's going to breeze past us or if it's going to arrive and open up here.
Yeah, even allowing for the smoked glass here, I think those do look like dark clouds. And having talked about getting the setup in tip-top condition, we're talking about dry conditions, and we just don't know what the conditions will be this afternoon.
I do feel, however, today, if some of the categories do get a wet session, it would be beneficial because the weather in Malaysia has been quite unpredictable recently. There has been spots of rain here and there, so it might be important for them to get at least one session of wet riding to bring forward into race day on Saturday and Sunday.
Yeah, Kiyoshi having a good outing on his own there. He'll be finding something out about the bike, and of course, without the rev cut, this is a good opportunity for him to put himself at the front and not be eclipsed by Andy Fadley.
Yeah, definitely. We saw him doing this yesterday as well in the practice 1 and 2. He would just stay out a bit longer, get some laps on his own. And I think it's just him trying to understand the bike better, know where, so that he can relay the information back to the mechanics on where to improve the bike. It's a pretty good tactic if that's what he's utilizing.
And of course, he just missed a podium in Sugo with a mystery crash going up the hill from the chicane to the finish line. The cameras didn't catch it. All we saw was his bike with the rear wheel missing.
Yeah.
And I saw him in the paddock afterwards and said, Aiki, what happened? So we totally missed it. He said, I don't know. I said, no, come on, what happened? And he said, I don't know.
Even he himself didn't
He
have
didn't
a clue.
know, his team didn't know. That was a total mystery.
It's really strange. Yeah, he's back in fighting now here in Sepang. Championship-wise, yeah, then DNF definitely took a hit for him in the championship. Could have been a bit more in a bit more of a better position. But for now, he is still fighting for what's remaining. Here's Akirazes. He's back out on track. He's down in 15th currently.
Bearing in mind what what we believe he's capable of.
I think it was the transition of the bike manufacturers as well. I do, if I recall, they were running the Yamaha R25s in round 1, and coming in round 2 they switched to this Honda CBR. So I think that's been a difficult switch still for them. Currently we see all the riders coming out. Andy Muhammad Fadli, he's back out on track. So Muhammad Muzakir as well, he's behind Andy currently through there in turn 7, apologies.
Yeah, there's some really quick riders that are further down here, like Muzakir Mohammed you just mentioned. Idlan for Bunsu Honda. We should expect more from him, from the mighty Bunsu Honda garage.
Yeah, it was strange. Even yesterday in practice 1 and practice 2, Idlan was really just not on pace. And yesterday in the second practice, he was 12th fastest at 229.1. When he came into practice 1, he was decent, but it was still at 229. So he needs to find his way into the upper 227s. Currently, he did a 228.5. So, Andy Muhammad Fadli there getting nearly out of shape at turn 13. Yeah, some riders just needing to find a bit more extra.
Rafid Topan Suchipto is one of those. He's on 229.5 and third in the championship.
Yeah, Yeah, that would be a big hit in this charge for the title. Because as we said, the big advantage is currently with Andi Muhammad Fadli. But with the power cut, the rev cut, apologies, definitely the riders below him are looking at a chance to try and close that gap before we head to Buriram.
Yeah, Andy Fadley down in 12th. Looking at the top speed there, yeah, 184, so that's, you know, that's a good 10 kilometers per hour down on the fastest ones, which funnily enough is a Yamaha, which we wouldn't necessarily have expected of Angi Setiawan. Ray Ratakuri also on a Yamaha, 186, so
yeah, it's funny
Yamaha
because
Indonesia have got that sorted out.
yeah, like the whole of yesterday, I was just looking at Angi Setiawan. Every time I looked at the timing screen, he had the fastest top speed. It was always above 195, and yeah, the Yamaha Racing Indonesia have done something really, really well with their machinery.
Yeah, yeah. In the equalization process at the beginning of the season, the Yamahas were given a higher rev limit than the Hondas and Yamahas because of the power deficit. Even though, you know, at the top end on a 250 does an extra 500 revs make a difference? Maybe not.
Yeah, perhaps just gives them an extra couple of kilometers per hour, but in the slipstream battle that we've seen with the 250s, that could be the difference maker.
Yeah.
But now here's Ray Ratakore and Andi Muhammad Fadli. We're following their timing screens on the bottom right of our screen. In front of, sorry, behind Ray Ratakore is Muhammad Muzakir. He's trying to push on for a good lap. Right now, Idlan, Muhammad Irfan Haikal, and Andi Muhammad Fadli all on decent laps.
Yeah, for now, who's going to break that top three Astra Honda dominance?
Just as you mentioned it, Adinanta Putra sets the fastest first sector time, and Reza Danica, he's on an improving lap as well.
Yeah.
So it looks like the Astra Honda is trying to solidify the top three spot in every session that they can.
Yeah. Ray Ratakuri pushing, reading his body language and listening to what he was saying yesterday. He's quite buoyant about his prospects for this weekend.
Yeah, he seemed a bit cheerful when I was watching the interview that you had with him yesterday, and he was mentioning how this category has become interesting with all these young riders coming up the ranks.
Yeah, he was sounding quite the old hand, wasn't he? But there's still some fight left in the old dog, I think.
Definitely, definitely. Can never count him out. Yeah, I'm just trying to compare the lap times that we've seen from the previous round that we had here in Sepang. Everyone was lapping in, well, not everyone, but the top 10 was lapping in the 226s. So everyone else besides Sergio Natnafridos has done a 227, 228, a 229. So the pace really not where it should be for the AP250 class.
Oh, and that's Razor out of shape now. That won't have done much for his prospects this time around for lap times. This is, of course, just free practice 3, so not so important. Razor Danica running with a 500 RPM rev cut.
Yeah, Adinanta Putra there just gone as the fastest rider in this practice 3 session, a 226.269, and Piawa Patumia splitting the Astra Honda garage. He's up into third, a 226.658.
Yeah, so now it's a Honda lockout for the first 4.
Yeah, I was mentioning that as well yesterday, that the Hondas just seemed so much stronger here in Sepang. And in, I think it was practice 1. So apologies, it was practice 2 where we saw the top 5. Four riders of the top 5 were riding Hondas, and there's only Aiki Yoshi which were splitting the 4 Hondas. And once again, it's the same story. Aiki Yoshi, he's the only Kawasaki, the only non-Honda in the top 5 currently.
Yeah, that's it. He's got 3 or 4 What's Muzakir? What is he on? Is he on a Yamaha?
I believe Muzakir is one of the riders in the team that switched to the Honda
Right.
in round 2, I believe it was.
Yeah, but 6, 7 and 8, you've got Ray Ratakuri, Angi Setiawan and Aldi Satya Mahendra. It's a good shot of the sky there, Daniel, on the screen. It's like a split screen.
Yeah, it looks, it's quite a contrast to from both sides.
Let's hope the dark side blows away.
One of the riders I wanted to mention, Angi Setiawan, I was watching him all of yesterday. He was doing a really good job fighting into the top 5 momentarily, but even with that top speed advantage that we've seen him have, he's just still struggling to get into the top 3 positions.
Yeah, he's been quick in this class for years now, and a rider that I've been waiting for, to put a really good race together, and he just hasn't done that yet. You can see his speed. It's kind of frustrating to watch in a way, because he's got it there somewhere. It's Piawat on a Honda, followed by the 2 Indian Hondas there of Seta Rajiv and Senthil Chandrasekaran.
Yeah, I think Honda India, they definitely need to find a little bit more power perhaps, or maybe a better setup for the riders, because previously in round 2 they were managing to get below the 2-minute 30s. This time around they are lapping in 2-minute 30, 2-minute 31s. So a little bit more needed to be found by the team.
Yeah, the team does seem to be in the doldrums. It's fair to say. And is it the riders? I've got my doubts whether it is, but there's something missing there. Be good to see them coming through. This sport, of course, has a huge following in India. They ran national races all the way through the pandemic, and of course the news broke last week about MotoGP going to India. So India's a great market for motorcycle racing. So we just need a hero to poke their nose through in this class. That would be really awesome.
Definitely. I was looking at all the race programs back a few years back that they had in India, and it's really in abundance, the rider development programs that they have. That's really good, and we really hope to see more riders from that region come into this championship and get into where we expect them to start progressing towards, which is at the top of the championships.
Yeah, I think what they need is just more exposure to this level.
Definitely, yeah. It is a whole different level coming into the ARC championships. We have champions from all the nations respectively, and it's a challenging one.
Yeah, and even in this class, you have riders with European experience.
Yep.
Rafid is one. And Ray as well. I think Ray Ratakuri.
Yeah, I think he did have I think, was it in the World Superbikes? Is it, or?
I think Super Sport.
Super Sports, yeah.
But Super Sport 300, I think. But yeah, so the level here is really deceptive. If you're only watching the riders on the screen, you don't know how good they are until somebody from another country, or a country where motorcycle racing hasn't advanced quite so far yet. You can see the difference. Senthil, number 18, hanging on behind these two, although Andy Fatli's just sitting up as he crosses the line. And there is the checkered flag for the end of this session, and that's been topped by Adananta Putra with the best lap of 2:26.2. We'll look at the times in a minute, but the first 3 are in the 2:26s. And then Reza Danica 4th. There goes Piawat. That's a good session from him. That set him up nicely for qualifying this afternoon.
Yeah, Piawat definitely replicating what we saw from him yesterday. A strong performance, and yeah, he'll be looking for a spot on the front row of the grid for qualifying for sure. And Aiki Yoshi, he needs to find a bit more to catch up with the riders in front of him. The Honda's just currently looking really strong in Sepang.
Yeah, aren't they? Andy Fadley, championship leader there in 10th.
Yeah, you can really see he's struggling 183 kilometers per hour as he came across the speed trap just now as well. Everyone else is about 190 and above. And oh, here's the wind that
Yeah,
we're
the wind
seeing.
comes, and that usually brings the rain, as we know, in this part of the world.
So for after this, we're gonna have the Super Sport 600s, and
Yeah.
they might be greeted with rain in Sepang.
You can see the speed of the clouds there. And here are the results for AP250 Practice 3 confirmed. Number 1 is Adananta Putra with a 226.269. Second, Herjan Atna Fardaus. Third, Piawat Patumyos from Thailand. Fourth, Reza Danica Arens. Fifth, Aiki Yoshi. Sixth, Ray Ratakuri. Seventh, Angia Setiawan. And eighth, Aldi Satya Mahendra for Yamaha Racing Indonesia. And ninth there was Muzakir Mohammed. He did a 228.1. Andy Fadley 10th, 228.4. And then he's followed by Irfan Haikal Amidi and Idlan Hakimi Radwan in 12th. 13th, Cheryl Ezwan. 14th, Rafid Topan Suchipto. 15th, Akid Aziz. And 16th, Fitrian Sakete. And 17th was Setu Rajiv, Honda Racing India, followed by his teammate Senthil Chandra Sekaran. 19th, Leong Nancy. He's riding for Victor Racing from Singapore. And Cal Vietnam has not been here, so far as we know, for round 4. So we're going to take a short break, and as Daniel just said, we'll be back for combined qualifying for MSBK and ARRC, of course. So we'll be back with you in around 7 or 8 minutes from now. We'll see you then.
Welcome back to the Sepang International Circuit for the Asia Road Racing Championship and the Malaysia Superbike Championship finale. Now we're gonna watch the Super Sport 600 category for the Asia Road Racing Championship as well as the MSBK 600 category. And you can see there at turn 1 it is pouring down and wet. However, from the commentary box where we are at the front straight, it is still dry. So it's it looks like it's 50-50 conditions now in the Sepang circuit. And this is gonna be challenging for the riders, especially the decision on whether to come out or not, because if half of the track is still dry, that's going to chew up through the wet tires that they have. It's going to be a bit difficult for all the riders to battle through the conditions. But you can see there rain falling from the side of the camera that we can see. I think we saw the dark clouds spewing over the circuit, but for now most of the clouds have passed, but it is pouring down with what we would consider definitely proper rain. There's Ibrahim Nordin, number 66 from the SIC racing team. And there you can see the marshals waving the yellow and red flag to indicate that the track is in a slippery condition. And currently out on track, there's only 4 riders who have come out. Ibrahim Nordin is one of them. So he's the 5th rider to join out on the track. Besides him, we have, this is Kondanai Kakao, who's just come out of pit lane. That's at turn 1 there. So far, besides Kondanai and Ibrahim Nordin, we have Nakarin, he's out on track, Krichaporn, Muhammad Farouzi, and Galang Hendra, who came out immediately, and he's just gone back into the pit. So perhaps there are certain parts of the track where the wet tire isn't really suitable quite as of yet, but they're looking at turn 14. It's definitely raining down over there. You can see a bit of paint coming off the rumble strip as Nakarin went over it. Down into turn 15 now. Doesn't look like there's rain pouring down here based on what we're seeing on camera. Man, it looks almost like turn 15 is dry, and it's not raining down there, so it's a very awkward situation for the riders. And this happens quite often in Sepang, where we have half of the track raining and half the track still dry. And here comes Ibrahim Nordin, and here you can really see the rain pouring down at turn 14. Comes around now onto the back straight of the Sepang International Circuit. You can see that the red and yellow flags being waved down the back straight. But you can see here, as he comes into turn 15, it's unclear whether it's really raining down there or not. The track itself doesn't look wet. There's no spray coming from the tires as they come around turn 15. Now down the front straight is Ibrahim Nordin. Muhammad Farouzi, he's gone back into the pits. Krichaporn as well has gone back. I believe Nakarin as well looks like he's gone back into pit lane. And I suspect it is because of the 50-50 conditions we're having. It's not properly wet all throughout, it seems. At turn 1, turn 2 there, you can see the spray coming up off the rear of Ibrahim's bike. Definitely properly wet. As he comes down into turn 3, you can see that the water just spraying all the way from the back of Ibrahim's bike, so it's properly wet here. Yeah, Nakarin and Ibrahim definitely on the wet tires as well. There's no way that they can ride on the full slicks in these conditions, but you can see that the rain clouds have blown past most of the track, so it might just be a very short session of rain that we have. I'm curious about this part of the track, turn 7 and 8. Is it raining and is it wet on this part as well, or is it much like turn 15 and dry? And it looks quite dry here at turn 7 and 8, so it looks like there's a bit of water kicking up, but looking at turn 9, it looks completely dry. It looks like it's gotten quite a lot brighter than the previous session in the AP250 class. Yeah, I don't see any water kicking up from the rear of Ibrahim's bike. But as he comes into turn 11, that's where it should be wet again. And these are properly tricky conditions. Comes out of turn 11 into turn 12. And here it looks mostly dry once again. And here it's here into turn 14. You can still see rain dropping now again on the cameras. So really, really tricky conditions out in Sepang currently. 50-50, half wet, half dry. I suspect that's why we don't really see the rain clouds everywhere. But now Ibrahim comes around turn 15. Unlike the other riders, he hasn't decided to come back into pit lane. Nakarin, he's also still out on track. Came across with a 225. Ibrahim's just down to 231.124. The SIC racing team. Coming to turn 1, it's still raining there. And here is Kondanai. Kondanai Kakao, he goes on to the back straight of the Sepang International Circuit, number 100. The Thai rider. He's riding for the EEST NJT racing team on a Honda CBR 600. Into turn 15 is Kondanai. This will be his first flying lap as he comes across the start-finish line. There he comes now. Should be somewhere in 2:34s, and it is. He goes third fast as well. Only 3 riders have completed laps so far. Galang Hendra did come out momentarily, so did Mohammad Farozi. But with the 50-50 conditions, I suspect they decided to just go back into the pit lane and just take a breather for a while and see how these conditions change for the next 5 to 10 minutes. For now, here's Krichapon. This will be his first out lap. He hasn't set a first sector time, so I suspect he's just come out of pit lane before this. Here comes Krichapon into turn 15. Very mixed conditions that we're having. And Nakarin's just come across with a 225.138. So mixed conditions, so it's hard to gauge. We don't have, we can't gauge it like a proper wet track timing. After all, we have certain parts of the track that are still looking very dry. And for now, here's the likes of Ramdan Rosli. He's just come out for his flying lap now. This is his flying lap that he's on. Through turn 7 and 8. It looks dry, but I think it's just riding on the wet tires and on a dry track. It's a bit of a tricky one to wrap your head around. See the leg dangle there. I suspect it might be damp, perhaps around turn 9. Hard to tell because there's no water spraying up from the tires. It's just Ramdan Rosli now here. For now, we have about 5 or 6 riders out on track. You can see that it's gotten really, really bright over turn 11 into turn 12. Turn 14 was where we saw it was still raining. Perhaps now, looking at the camera, I think the rain has stopped here, but it's still wet over at turn 14. So this is going to be a very awkward session. Some riders may even opt not to go out at all, because they won't be able to get proper wet data, and neither will they be able to set any times as the track is not properly dry. There's Ramdan Rosli now. He is riding on the wet tires, as almost every rider who's out on track now is doing so. There are still parts of the track that is wet, much like turn 1, but you can see the rain has completely stopped now at the Sepang International Circuit. And here's the likes of Galang Hendra. And it looks like he's still on the wet tires, so very interesting, because the rain has stopped. The track will start to dry up soon. It's starting to dry up now itself, so yeah, look down at his bike there from Galang Hendra. These are properly tricky situations, apologies. Yeah, Gunling there just going around turn 11. And I can tell you one thing for sure, riding on the dry parts of the track on a wet compound tire it's a tricky one. It's a weird feeling that you get. It feels unsettled when you go around the corners. Krishaporni's just come across with a 2:28.060. He's in second place currently. Ibrahim Nordin, he's at the back there. You can see coming out of turn 14. He might have been a bit damp previously, but the rain has stopped. It's hard to lean the bike completely on these wet tires on a dry track. Because the compound is so soft, the rear moves around easily, the front as well moves. So here comes Ibrahim, he comes across at 2:26.198, so he's just behind Nakarin. Ooh, there you can see the track still very, very wet at turn 1. You can see the amount of spray coming from the rear tire. These are properly tricky conditions. Hendra. Into turn 4, let's see how wet it looks. There's not much spray coming from the rear tire of Galing Hendra, so it's a really, really weird situation. So as of right now, only 5 riders have set a lap time. Galing Hendra, when he completes this lap, he will be the 6th rider to have completed a lap time in this session. You can see all 3 Bunsu Honda Racing Team riders have not come out. For the likes of Azra Hakim Anwar, Helmi Azman, and Karol Idam Pawi Rajini. Yeah, you can see that Ibrahim is on a decent lap. He's closed the gap really quickly between himself and Galang Hendra. Into turn 14, this is where it was still raining, but it looks like the spray is non-existent now as they come across. Yeah, turn 1 still properly damp. And Krishaporni, he came across this now at 2:25.088. Looks like some other riders will be heading out on track soon. Comes onto the front straight now, Ibrahim and Galang Hendra. Ibrahim should be improving his lap time as he comes across. He's at 2:25.554, but he remains in 3rd position. Galang Hendra at 2:30.908, so he gets up into 5th. Oh, you can see there how wet turn 1 is. Credit to all the riders who are out on track right now trying to best these conditions, because it is properly mixed conditions that we're having. And now you can see Ibrahim, he just pulled the gap between himself and the likes of Galang Hendra. And here's Keito Abe from the 1XOX TKKR racing team. He's riding the Yamaha YZF R6. He's looking to come out soon. One of the Yamaha Thailand racing team riders has come out. None other than Ratapong Willarat. So he's coming out now to set some lap times. Here we're getting a decent look at Chip Nakarin. See the mechanics there working on his bike. Putting the tire warmers. Looks like they're taking it off, so he might be heading out once again for another stint out on track with just under 10 minutes remaining. Now we're looking at the likes of Ramdan Rosli. Krishaporn, he's just come across with a 2:23.373. So he's the fastest of the session so far. Look at that, turn 5 and 6. There's Ramdan, he makes his way around turn 5 and 6 in a rather gingerly fashion. Here's your front Ardian Chug, who hasn't set a time yet. He hasn't come out of the hasn't come out on track to set a time. Now here we're looking at Kritchaporn, who is the fastest so far in the session, at 2:23.373. Chip Nakarin, he's just coming out of pit lane right now, so he's going to go for a second stint. So right now, Chang Chi-Yeng, he's also come out and starting his flying lap. Ratapang Wilarot, he's still on his out lap, so he'll be starting his flying lap in a short bit. Here's Andy Farid. He hasn't come out yet. He looks like he might just skip the session altogether. He's just having a chat with the mechanic there. With 8 minutes left. Oh, looks like he's going to come out just for the remaining few minutes that we have. With 8 minutes left, he should get about 3 or 4 laps in it. Now we focus back onto the fastest rider in this session so far, Kritchaporn. Makes his way around turn 11 there, and he goes down into turn 12. Still mixed conditions that we're having here at the Sepang International Circuit. He goes here. This is where we're still raining about 10 minutes ago. And Kritchaporn is on the wet compound tires. I don't think anyone's going to be able to ride on the slicks currently with how wet turn 1 and 2 is, and it looks like Andy Farid's mechanic having a look up into the sky to try and see what the conditions are. But like I said, looking at the spray from turn 1 all the way down to turn 3, getting on the slick tires might be a bit risky, especially in these mixed conditions, especially if there's a misjudgment when you come into turns like turn 14 and even turn 1 itself. Chang Chi-Yeng, he's just come across with a 2:34.490. So he goes up into 7th place for now. Mohammad Fairuzi, he set a lap time of a 2:36.975 last time round, and he'll be coming across anytime soon to complete his second flying lap. Janakarini sets the fastest sector 4 time as he came across on his out lap. And here's Muhammad Fairuzi of the Yamaha Racing Indonesia team. This will be his new flying lap as he comes across. It should be an improvement, and it is. It's a 2:30.851. He goes into 6th position. So riders who haven't set a lap time yet, besides Ratapang Wilarot, those who are still in the pit lane: Sota Furuyama, Irfan Ardian Shah, Azwar Hakim Anwar, Andi Farid Izdihar, Muhammad Helmi Azman, and Khairul Idam Pawi. So we're looking back at Mohammad Fairuzi right now. He's done a decent sector 1 timing. So I forgot to mention as well, Rajini Krishnan, he's going to make his appearance into the 600 class for the MSBK 600s. We'll give you more information when we do have it as to why he's not riding in the 1000 class that we saw him in yesterday. But for now, here's Mohammad Fairuzi. Ooh, we do have slicks coming in now for Andy Farid. This is very, very brave from the Astro Honda Racing team. For both him and, by the looks of it, the likes of Irfan. So turn 1 is still completely drenched. The spray coming up is really significant. There is no rainfall right now, but they're going to have to be really, really careful on certain corners where it's still 50-50. And especially at turn 1 where it's still completely wet. Can see that this is really brave from the Astro Honda riders. You see they can barely lean in these conditions on the slick tires, and the rain is falling once again at turn 1 and turn 3. So this move might be the wrong one. You can see that the Bunsu Honda riders, they're just relaxing over there. they're not they're not bothered to come out on this session. Helmi showing a bit of a calm down gesture there. But look at the rain, it's falling once again at turn 4 as well. So this is brave coming in from the Astra Honda team. So they're coming around now, turn 5 and 6, and it looks like, I am not too certain, but it looks like rain is falling at turn 6, but I can't be certain. It could just be the grain coming in from my screen here, but it doesn't look as dry as it was a few laps ago. Keito Abe, he's come out of pit lane. So currently the ones who are not out are Azra Hikimanawar, Helmi Azman, Karo Irampawi, and Rajini Krishnan. Yeah, I really wonder how much is left in those. Oh, looking at turn 10, it is pouring down once again. So sorry to say, but I think the plan from Andy Farid and Irfan Ardian Shah's garage, the Astra Honda team, has completely failed here because rain is falling once again now at turn 10, turn 11. And by the looks of it, all the way down to turn 14. Here we're following Jim Nakarin into 14. He's looking quite confident on those wet tires. But definitely on the dry part, it's chewed up the tires. And you can see there, Adi Farid, he just can't do anything at this point. He's on the slick tires. I think he's going to head straight back into pit lane. There's no way him and Irfan are going to go out for another lap with rain starting to fall once again. Yeah, there we go. Andy Farid raising the hand, Irfan as well. So tactics not gone their way this time for the Astra Honda team. You can see the rain falling on the back straight. It is pretty heavy, actually. So we're going to see some proper torrential rain soon. Yeah, that's properly heavy rain that we're having right now. So a minute and a bit left in the Super Sport 600 category. And a mixed, very, very mixed weather conditions that we've had. But lucky for them, this isn't qualifying. So hopefully when it comes to time for qualifying, it'll be either properly, completely wet, or it'll be a dry qualifying session. But it is an unfortunate tactic that hasn't worked out in the favor of the Astra Honda racing team for the Super Sport 600 category. So straight back to the pits it is for Andy Farid and Irfan Ardian Shah. By the looks of it, Sota Furuyama, he's gone back in as well. Everyone in joyous moods there in the Astra Honda pit. They knew it was a gamble, and this time it didn't pay off. So Ibrahim Nuruddin, he's been in the pits for a while as well. He won't be coming out. On track sales, Krit Chaporn, Chip Nakarin, Mohammad Fairozi, Kondanai, Mohammad Ramdan Rosli, Galang Hendra, and Chang Chi Ying. You see the rain pouring down at turn 15. It's properly wet, and it looks like Ramdan Rosli, he's heading back into pit lane. Yeah, especially for like Ramdan, he came out early in the session, so his wet tires, with the amount of dry track that we had, they would have been chewed up pretty badly, and I doubt that there's much left on those tires. Oh, look at how the rain's pouring down there, turn 11 into 12. Yeah, it's properly heavy rain now that we're having. So with that said, the checker flag is out now, and it looks like Kondanai, Kritchapur, and Nakarin, they will be taking the checker flag. Galang Hendra as well. I think which one he's just come across, he's done a 2:28, so he must have had a mistake somewhere, because that's quite a few seconds slower than what he's done previously. Here's Galang Hendra coming around turn 4. He's done a decent first sector time, so it could be an improvement for Galang Hendra. And into turn 5 and 6. Look at the rain pouring down there. It's almost completely horizontal. So strong winds and rain that we're having here now at Sepang. It looked like the rain has gone past, but there seems to be an afterwave of rain clouds on its way. So Here's Galangendra now. As he makes his way around turn 7 and 8. Oh, big moment there for Galangendra. The exit of turn 8. Yeah, he's just looking down at his bike now. I think he's just gonna cruise back to pit lane now. We're gonna get a replay of that. He comes out of turn 8, just gets on the gas, and the rear just comes around. And luckily he managed to just stay on the bike and control the throttle as he went through. You can see he's getting really worried now. He doesn't want to risk a crash in a free practice session. It's not necessary right now. So he's just gonna cruise his way back to pit lane. So these are the results for practice 3 of the ARRC Super Sports 600 class. Krichapon, he's in first. Ibrahim Noordin in second. Nakarin, he's in third. Fourth is Muhammad Fairozi. Fifth is Kondanai Kakao. Sixth is Muhammad Ramdan Rosli. Seventh is Galangendra Pratama. Eighth is Ratapang Wilarot. Ninth is Chang Chi Ying. 10th is Sota Furuyama. 11th, Andi Farid Istihar. So from Sota all the way down, there is no time set. Irfan Ardiansha, Keto Abe, Azra Hakim Anwar, Muhammad Helmi Azman, and Khairul Idam Pawi. So that concludes a very mixed session of the Asia Road Racing Super Sports 600 class for the Practice 3. We'll take a short break, and after this we'll be back with the Asia Superbike 1000 class for their free Practice 3 session. We'll be right back after this.
welcome back everyone to Sepang in Malaysia, and it's raining. This is round 4 of the Asia Road Racing Championship, and live on screen you can see the bikes coming out for the 3rd free practice session for the ASB1000 class. There you see Pasawit Titiwararak for Astimo Honda in conjunction with Thai Honda going out on track there, and there are the 2 Asia Dream Racing bikes. 21, that's Zakwan Zaidi, multiple ARRC champion, followed by Gary Selim, a rookie in this class, of course, this year, but no stranger, having done great things in AP250s and 600s. That's a wild card there on your screen. This round is being run in conjunction with the final round of the Malaysia Superbike Championship. So some of the bikes on track you will see are wild cards. Some of the bikes on track are wild cards for the MSBK. And there you're looking at championship leader Haruki Noguchi getting ready to go out. This is a wet session, of course. In the last session, it was about half the track was wet, but looking around from what I can see here in the commentary box, it looks like there is some rain falling all over the circuit, although it doesn't look too bad where these two Thai Yamahas are. That's the number 25 machine of Aslan Shah, of course, another multiple ARRC champion, and indeed the defending champion, because he won the championship in 2019. No rush to go out for Aslan. These are not proper wet conditions. In a way, it'd be better if it rained so that they could have some practice in the wet and get their setup right, because of course here at Sepang in Malaysia, the unpredictability of the weather is part of the fun. There we are, is Pasawit Titiwararak for Astimo S1 Racing with Thai Honda, a rookie in the class this season, and going pretty well so far this meeting. He was quick yesterday, and notably he went well at Sepang in race 2 last time out, and he went well yesterday, putting in 2:08. Just to give you a marker here, you won't be seeing these times in this wet or semi-wet session, but 2:07 is a good, anything in the 2:07s is a decent race pace. I'm just looking there at Adam Noradin on the screen there. It's the 102X TKKR BMW. The BMWs of Adam Noradin and Aslan Shah haven't really fulfilled their potential yet this season. There's another wild card going through there. The BMWs haven't quite got their setup right. It's been a little bit of a frustrating season, but hopefully after a nasty injury in practice the last round in Sugo, but he came up well from the back of the grid and looked much more like his old self. But yesterday in free practice he was middle of the pack, not really on the pace that we know he's capable of, or really anything close to it. So these riders coming out to test these tricky conditions, many of them, as you can see, are wild cards. So we're back with Pasawit from ARRC. Just to talk about Pasawit for a little bit, the Thai rider. His rookie season, as I mentioned, he's finished every race, so he's acquitted himself quite well, showing potential increasingly, and if we get dry conditions, I do think he's capable of getting into the top 5 this weekend. There is Zakwan Zaidi. He went to round 3 as championship leader and had that lead snatched away from him by Haruki Noguchi the Japanese rider, of course, from STG Motorsports Heart Pro. Haruki Noguchi, 21 years old, came here as the reigning All Japan Super Stock 600 champion from the All Japan series, and literally took ASB1000 by the scruff of the neck right from the outside, and you got a good shot of the rain there. It does seem to be raining quite hard, even though on the screen the track doesn't look too wet. Let's see what how long that took. So that's what you're looking at here for the time being. Apiwat fastest 2:27, so you could say that's 20 seconds off a decent race pace in these conditions. And you can see the plume of spray coming from the back of Zakwan's bike. Now Aslan Shah's going to try the conditions for himself. He's on full wet tyres, of course, as you can see. Pasowit putting the laps in on the Astemo S1 by Thai Honda CBR 1000 RR. I think it might have 3 Rs, this latest version. So let's see what Aslan makes of these conditions and how the experienced Malaysian will take advantage, perhaps, of these conditions. How will the BMW go in the wet? The story of yesterday, and we haven't really seen him on screen yet, was Daniel Kazmayuddin, who hasn't come out yet. There is championship leader Haruki Noguchi, just getting wiped down. Looking nicely windswept there in the SDG pit. He will take his time. Haruki Noguchi, very adept at choosing his moments to strike and put in fast lap times. Yesterday he was, let me see, that he was second best. But Kazmadaniel, I was going to say, was Kazmadaniel was the fastest rider out there yesterday. He topped both sessions. In the first session, he was the only rider into the 207s. In an FP2, he was the only rider to get into the 206s. Haruki Noguchi was 0.8 of a second slower in the mid 207s. And there is Kazmayuddin. An exploration for him in these mixed conditions. There's not a whole lot you can learn. If it was properly wet, you could test some settings and some mapping some of the electronics, but in these mixed conditions it's debatable how much value track time is going to give you. But here he goes, and that's Yuki Ito is going to go. Of course, he is Kazmadaniel's teammate, the experienced Yuki Ito. He had a pretty decent session yesterday, and yeah, you can see the rain there at the final turn as Aslan comes across to complete his, I think that was his outlap. But if it matters, the two Yamaha Thailand Racing Team R1s are sitting at the top. Apiwat Wongthananon, who was a little bit quiet yesterday by his standards, and Anupab Sarmoon, who was going really well yesterday. Second in the first session. His best time yesterday was 207.8. And there is Apiwat Wongthananon. Now, if you are familiar with the ARRC. There is a lot of rain at that final turn. There goes Anupam Samoon crossing the line there, closely followed by the number 24, his teammate Apiwatwong Tananon. The two Thai riders we often see running together, and Anupam, again, for what it's worth, which is probably not a whole lot, goes to the top of the timing screens and rolls right off and goes to the outside of turn 1 to get himself out of trouble. So perhaps this will turn into a proper fully wet session as we stay again with 2019 and therefore defending champion Aslan Shah Kamaruzaman. This will be a properly wet session, and therefore it'll be worth more riders coming out. The early riders out. Pasawit has gone back into the pits, but most riders are out now. Shah there gingerly leaning into that turn. On there, if you want to orientate yourself on this Sepang circuit, he's coming down the back straight into the final turn, 180-degree turn, where it is raining heavily. And yeah, he's not even getting his knee close to the ground. So keeping it cagey. The Malaysian multiple champion. That was a 2:32 for him. And there is Zakwan Zaidi. As I mentioned earlier, Zakwan Zaidi led the championship into round 3 at Sugo. Didn't have such a good outing there, and ended up, by virtue of a double win from Haruki Noguchi, relinquishing his championship lead. So now the points totals stand at Haruki Noguchi, number 1 with 124 points, and 111 in second place for Zakwan Zaidi. Third is Kazmayuddin. If it stays dry, he will be fancied for a win or two here at his home circuit in Malaysia. Challenging conditions. Zakwan comes across. There is some pattern forming in the lap times now, with Anupam Samoon for Yamaha Thailand at 226.2. So these are, as I was saying, about 20 seconds off you would see in dry conditions. 27, that is Kazma Daniel. Again, taking it very carefully. Now even us as spectators have to peer through the rain to make out the riders. Yeah, Kazma Daniel, eyes open wide in these conditions. There he goes through the final turn, giving it a good blast, and let's see where he ends up. He ends up on a 228, so into the zone that these riders are establishing now that the track is properly wet. Meaning that's between 226.2, which is Anupam, still sitting at the top, and going down to Gary Salim on 229, and he's in 5th position. So there's something of a benchmark there. That's Yuki Ito, teammate to Kazma Daniel. Through there, Yuki looking more aggressive in these conditions than most of the other riders out on track there. Let's see if he gets himself into the zone. Yuki, I think this is his first proper flying lap. He's been out once or twice, but hasn't really put in a lap time. So let's see as we get that shot of the rain on the tyres coming through the final turn. So Yuki Ito, is he going to put himself into the wet leaderboard zone? Yes, he does, and he goes to the top. That's 2:26 dead for Yuki Ito. Yeah, he looks comfortable in these conditions. He's keeping the pressure on. There's his teammate, Kazma Daniel. So we've got the benefit now of a wet session. Through sector 2, Kazma Daniel was really quick. Fastest time so far in this session. He's got a rider going quite a bit slower just ahead of him, so I think that's one of the wild cards. That could be an issue that we see cropping up during this meeting, but I think, yeah, the wild card got well out of the way. Good work by him. So Kazma comes down the back straight. Currently in 5th, best time 2:28. So more than 2 seconds slower than his teammate Yuki Ito, who just went to the top. Let's see what Kazma will put in now. 2:25, and there he goes. We're used to seeing Kazma Daniel, Kazmoyuddin at the top of the timing sheets, and there he is again. He topped both sessions yesterday, and now that it's raining, although he's going some 19 seconds slower than he was yesterday in these wet conditions, he is back at the top. And here we go with Paswit Titiwararak back out on track. Good performance from him yesterday in the first 2 free practice sessions. What has he got now in the wet? As he comes through on a flying lap. Paswit 2:31, nowhere really near the fast zone for wet conditions. I think that was the familiar sight of the dangling leg of Aslan Shah on the 1XOX TKKR BMW just behind him. And another nice shot of the teeming rain. Yeah, but for these riders running on wet tyres, these are good conditions to get a feel for the track, because it could, of course, be wet race tomorrow. The races, of course, race 1 Saturday and race 2 on Sunday. In a way, at Sepang, it would be surprising if the rain didn't lend a hand. So, Paswit, who I don't believe has had a lot of wet track time on this CBR 1000 this year, he is getting a bit now. Track not so wet there, from what we can see. Looking down, Zakwan currently in 2:28, just looking at the fast zone for the riders in the wet. Gary Slim going okay, 2:29.7. The marker, though, has been put down by Kazma Daniel. He's in the 2:25s, along with his Gen Blue Yamaha teammate Yuki Ito, who comes up on our screens now. But this isn't a flying lap for Yuki Ito, he's just having a look around. 19 minutes left on the clock now for this session. So plenty of time to test the wet settings. All these bikes, of course, run on Dunlop tyres. And for this season, for the dry tyre mediums that they were running previously, that's just for this championship. Just looking at the timings now, Kazma Daniel looking at Yuki Ito, but his teammate Kazma is on was quick through sector 1, fastest time of the day. As Yuki comes through along the back straight there. Anupab Samoon is in 3rd position. Aslan Shah has moved himself up by virtue of a 2:26 lap, so that's a decent time. Kazma Daniel sitting at the top now with a 2:23.8, and on another quick one, fastest time so far through sectors 1 and sector 2. There is Zakwan currently in P7 with a 2:28. He will have seen the markers put down. Let's see what he makes of it this time. It's going to be faster than he was. 2:26.8, which elevates him to 5th place currently, so he's in the fast wet zone too. Although some 3 seconds adrift of Kazma Daniel, who's put a fastest time in again through sector 3. So we'll be coming back, no doubt, to Kazma as he gets into sector 4. Can't see from these shots whether it is still raining. We were hoping it was going to blow over, but clearly it hasn't. It's decided to take a break and sit over here, and Kazma 2:23.5, so he bettered his previous lap time by a little bit. So 2:23.57, that's the marker. His teammate not so far behind in these conditions, 2:25.9. Zakwan out there doing what he does, which is his very best every lap round, every turn. He hasn't quite got this CBR 1000, the new CBR 1000 RRR, set up to his total satisfaction yet. He has been fast all season, Zakwan, but he's had to work really hard to get that speed. But he's working away with it together with the Honda Asia Dream Racing team. Looks a little bit drier out the back there, doesn't it? And that's Gary Salim just in front of Zakwan. These two will come round to complete a lap within the next few seconds. But Zakwan is coming into the pits. And there's 15 minutes remaining on the clock. So we'll see more of Zakwan, and there is currently the man at the top in these wet conditions, Kazma Daniel. So 2:23.5 for him, and Aslan Shah has moved up into the 2:25s. Well, I'm sure I'm not the only person happy to see Aslan Shah back at the top of the timing screens. It's been all too rare during this 2022 season. So Kazma coming in for a break, so it is break time. In this free practice, third of the free practice session. They will be on track for qualifying at 10 to 4 this afternoon. 2 sessions actually, 10 to 4, and straight after that at 20 past 4. Just looking at there are a couple of wild cards, followed by Adam Noureddin and Haruki Noguchi, who we haven't seen much of this session. Let's check Haruki's scorecard, 2:26.3. And we haven't seen Haruki Noguchi in the wet yet in ARRC on a superbike, so that's going to be interesting. He is a class act, so there's no reason to suppose that he won't be as blisteringly fast in the wet in relative terms as he is in the dry. He's going to come up past that's number 72, that is Adam Noureddin. So past Adam Noureddin, who knows this circuit rather better than Haruki Noguchi, it has to be said. So let's see what kind of response Haruki and Aguchi will make to Kazma Daniel, because coming into this race, it looks on form as though the top spot will be fought out between these two. Of course, anything could happen. But now we're in wet conditions. It gets a little bit more intriguing, I think. So Haruki Aguchi tucks down there, giving us a good shot of the cartoon eyes on the top of the helmet, originally made famous by the great Japanese racer Shinya Nakano, of course. And it's still raining pretty hard out there. It's easy to see the rain from that camera shot. So let's see what Haruki does. So 2:25.8, respectable wet time, but 2.2 seconds off Kazma's best time. So at the top we've got Kazma, 2:23, and then 1.8 seconds back to Aslan Shah, and a few tenths behind him Haruki Aguchi and Yuki Ito. Here are Anupab Samun, the number 500 Yamaha Thailand Racing Team R1, followed by Apiwat Wongtananon. Both these riders also race in the championship that's run at Chang International Circuit in Buriram. And apart from that, just doing this series. This is their main target this year, and in championship terms, pretty respectable. Anupab currently 4th on 76 points. Apiwat on 79 points, and just behind him, Apiwat on 76. And they do tend to run closely like this. But if you're a betting person and you can find a bookmaker to take your bet, qualifying this afternoon, I would put your money down on Apiwat Wongtananon getting a front row. So, trundling down the back straight, these two. And just behind them, Gary Salim. There's 10 minutes remaining on the clock now, just over 10 minutes. These two are going at, well, I was going to say they're coming into pit lane pace, but they've gone round the final turn. And so they'll be out to do another lap. Here comes Gary Salim, head down as he crosses the line, looks businesslike. Back with Pasawit Titiwararak for Astimo S1 Racing with Thai Honda. A really popular rider in this paddock, stepping up to the Superbike class this year. And coming along really nicely. He's race 2 in round 2, which was here at Sepang. He put in some really fast times, had a good result, and this time in the wet conditions he's shown he can do this too, because he's currently lying in 5th, having done a best time of 2:26.2. So the team will be pleased with this performance so far, showing a little bit of versatility. Here he comes. Is he going to best this? Probably not. Oh, yes he has. 2:25.6. So that's put him into 3rd place. So nice work by the young Thai rider. Just looking down here, top speeds in these conditions. Best top speed is with Pasawit, actually, 285.7 kilometers per hour. Zakwan also pretty quick. The Hondas are known to be quick around this this circuit. It does suit them in top speed terms. Aslan Shah, who's sitting in 2nd, his top speed was 248, so a lot slower than Pasawit or Kazma Daniel, who's sitting at the top, whose top speed was 279. So that just goes to show how important it is to get these bikes through the turns quickly in wet conditions. I did notice an uptick in the confidence of this rider, Passuit, yesterday, talking to him between sessions. I think he feels ready to establish himself in the top 5. And in these conditions, he's put himself in that range. So we've got Aslan, Passuit, Haruki and Yuki in the 225s, and sitting above them, Kazma Daniel, 223.5, which he set a lot earlier in the session. Zakwan Zaidi we're looking at now, his best time 226.2. But in a race, you could put your money down on Zakwan being at the front and certainly on the podium. And probably good for a win, actually, in wet conditions here. He knows the circuit so well, he's so experienced, such an accomplished rider. So just looking down the championship standings here, we've got a 13-point gap from Zakwan to Haruki and Aguchi. So if you were going to speculate, and with almost 6 minutes left on the clock, we have time to speculate in these conditions, could reel in Haruki and Aguchi's championship leads here at Sepang. But as I said, we haven't seen too much of Haruki Aguchi in the wet this season. Nice shot of Zakwan, nice shot of those Dunlop wet tyres clearing the rain away. Giving the riders plenty of confidence to lean the bike over, so here comes Zakwan. Will he improve his time? Yes. 225.7, so he's in the zone 2 currently, and behind him Aslan is coming through. Here comes Aslan, decent time from him, another 226, so he remains in second. Passuit third. Zakwan Zaidi, by virtue of that last lap, pushed himself up into fourth, ahead of championship rival Haruki Aguchi. And with just over 4 minutes remaining on the clock, Kazma Daniel returns to this wet Sepang International Circuit. Just going through the shot there is Gary Salim. Gary Salim, best time so far, 229.7 in these conditions. See how quickly Aslan can close up on him. Aslan looks pretty comfortable out there, as you might expect from a rider of his experience and ability. So wet track could just suit the 2019 and defending champion. Haven't seen him on the podium yet, but he looks confident. Just pushing the front there in these wet conditions. Taking a look around. Aslan Shah is one of those riders that knows when to put the hammer down, when to take it easy. Sometimes he can look almost lazy, but when it matters, he does the job. And he's looking good in the wet here. All riders currently out on track with 2 minutes 40 seconds remaining. Gary Salim, the green KYT helmet there. Aslan Shah, the shark helmet, as we're doing helmet manufacturers for a moment. Closing on him quite quickly, so let's see what the timing screens say this time. That's 2:24. So Aslan Shah's improved his time, 2:24.391. He stays in second behind Kazma Daniel, but that's a significant improvement. We go back there with championship leader Haru. Third place now, Anupab Samoon. We haven't seen them on screen for a while. Zakwan fourth. Pasowit just been nudged down to fifth. Let's take a look at the 21-year-old Japanese rider Haruki Aguchi, how he navigates the shallow waters of Sepang. I really doubt whether he'll be fazed by the conditions, but the thing to watch out for is what can he do in terms of technique and how he converts that into time. His best time so far has been 2:25.8, so that's more than 2 seconds off the best time of Kazma Daniel, who we expect him to be fighting for wins with here at Sepang. Getting right off the bike. It's a really aggressive style that you do tend to see from younger riders. As he comes down the back straight, let's see what he can do. Under braking, he looks pretty comfortable. One good thing about the wet conditions here is that you can see the eyes of the riders through the clear visors. So let's see what Haruki banks this time, a 2:24.8. That brings him up within half a second of Aslan Shah and therefore into third position. And Pasowit moved himself up into fourth, but he's just been bumped down into fifth. The checkered flag will be out shortly as we look at one of the wildcards with a lucky number, looks like. But you can bet that nobody's going to best that time of Kazma Daniel Kazmayuddin at 2:23.5 at the top. So it's Kazma, Aslan, Anupab, Haruki, Pasowit, Zakwan, and wildcard Takuya Suda, and then Yuki Ito, Apiwat Wongtananon, 2:26. But don't count out Apiwat for a front row qualifying time this afternoon. It's 11:40 now, so in about 4 hours' time, the superbikes will be on track for qualifying. The checkered flag is out just as we watch the wildcard completing his time on track. Adam Noureddin, number 72, we were looking at a little bit earlier, 2:29. The conditions didn't suit him so well. And for this wildcard, that will be his final time of the session. And there is Adam Noureddin. Last time around for him, he's not pushing really here. So that's it, the riders have all had some wet track time. As Haruki Aguchi comes across for the last time, 2:24.5, about the same as last time, so that keeps him in third place. Then you see Zakwan just being tracked there as they slow down by Apiwat Wongtananon. Oh, sorry, not slowing down yet. Here they come. Last time around. Oh. Zakwan 224.5. Just a little bit quicker than him, Apiwat Wongtananon. That's good enough to lift Apiwat into second position. You see some of the wildcards coming through to complete their session. Haruki and Aguchi just bumped down the order to 5th there. But that was a wet session, of course, and won't be conclusive. So let's just take a look at the results. So, number 1, Kazma Daniel Kazmayuddin, 223.5. Apiwat Wongtananon, next best by dint of that last lap, 224.3. Aslan Shah, 224 in 3rd place. 4th, Zakwan Zaidi. 5th, Haruki Naguchi. 6th, Anupab Samoon. 7th, Pasawit Titiwara Rak for Astemo S1 Racing with Thai Honda. And 8th, the wildcard Takuya Suda. And 9th, Yuki Ito, Kazma Daniel's teammate. 10th, Gary Salim. 11th, Adam Noradin. 12th, Farid Badrul Hissam, wildcard, and wildcards in 13th, 14th, 15th and 16th. That's the end of free practice 3. As we just look at the remaining times there. But we will be back in about 7 minutes from now with the first free practice session for the TVS Asia One Make Championship. So stay with us and we will see you in just a few minutes. Welcome back to a damp Sepang International Circuit. We're here for round 4 of the Asia Road Racing Championship. We've seen 3 practice sessions, 3 free practice sessions for the 4 principal classes here, the underbones, 250s, 600s and the ASB1000s. This is the first free practice session for the TVS TVS One Make Championship. And they're just coming on their out lap now. Although this is round 4 for FIM Asia Road Racing Championship, this is round 3 for TVS. They joined in the second round, which was of course held here at Sepang. That was their first ride out. It was dry conditions on that occasion. The marshal was just there showing them a flag to show that it's that the conditions are slippery, as if they didn't know already. It is raining here, not hard at Sepang, so we may be in for a dry afternoon. That's what we're hoping for, but these riders are out now. The bikes you can see are TVS Apache RR310s. They've been homologated especially for this series. You can, if you're in the right part of the world, you can buy a TVS Apache from a showroom, and a very decent bike it is too. These ones are a little bit special. The power has been increased. They've been using carbon fiber bodywork, including the rear subframe, to lighten them so they're considerably lighter, considerably more powerful than the regular TVS Apache. But you can buy them, you can order them. They use the power here is single cylinder, so it's a long stroke 310cc engine. It's the same one that is used in the small BMW GS. But it's a really good engine, and they use the A-Racer ECU to keep things under control here, electronically speaking. And what that means is if you're riding one of these long stroke high compression single cylinder engines, you will tend to get the rear wheel locking up under braking as you change down through the gears because of the high compression. And we saw a little bit of that in the early sessions back at Sepang last time out, but we quickly saw that tame. So good work by the A-Racer team that supply ECUs throughout this championship, because that rear locking up, it seems to be no longer a problem. The series was conceived back in 2020. There was just one race held in the FIM Asia Road Racing Championship just before the pandemic broke out and brought everything to a shuddering halt. And in that, the Thai rider, Warapong Malahuan, pushed his TVS Apache up amongst the leaders. I think he bagged a 4th place finish on one of these TVS Apaches, and the idea was born to bring it back and extend this into a project to launch a One Make series. ARRC has a strong history of using One Make championships to bring aspiring young riders through into the main classes. Previous ones, of course, Asia Dream Cup, which used Honda 250s, and the Suzuki Asian Challenge in recent years, and now TVS, which is the 2nd largest motorcycle manufacturer in India, and India being the size it is, that means it's a very large company indeed. Also owns the British brand Norton these days. So just looking at the people out on track at the moment, let's pick up some of these numbers and riders. So number 10 going through there, that's Felix Fleming. There's Felix Fleming, interesting and quite experienced rider for his years. He Australian, started in flat track racing, as all Australians seem to do, at the age of just 5. Now he's competing in the Spanish Championship and in this championship. In the first time out for TVS, which was in round 2 for ARRC, Barris had a pretty horrific crash and smashed up, I think it was his left leg, really badly. And this is his return from injury now. So it's good to see the young Australian back on the TVS machine as they navigate their way around these tricky conditions. So that's Barris, and at the top of the timesheets currently is Dekitiano Aldi. Dekitiano currently lying second in the championship. I mentioned Warapong Malahuan earlier. It was Warapong who actually is leading this project of the TVS Asia One Make Championship, and he later decided that it would be good if he competed himself to give the other riders something to aim at, and it has been in both the rounds so far, Sepang and last time out in Sugo. It's been Dekitiano Aldi, the Indonesian, who's given him a run for his money. There is Deki, number 16, just going through there. So Deki beat Warapong in race 2 at Sepang. He finished second to Warapong's third. And in Sugo he had an indifferent race 1 and was placed 4th in round 2. So that puts him in second place behind the project leader, Warapong, who has 2 wins, a second and a third to his name. As well he might, given a rider of his experience and quality. Spends a lot of time in India working with TVS, who have their own one-make championships, in domestic championships in India. He goes to help their young riders there. He also, as a coach, has his own rider racing school in his native Chiang Mai, or Chiang Rai, in the north of Thailand anyway. As we're just staying there with Dekitiano Aldi. His best time 2:42 as he comes in to complete another lap. The lap times we see from TVS One Make are pretty close, a little bit slower than the AP250s, so it's interesting just to watch how close they can get. Number 7 in the white helmet, that is Warapong Malahuan, the championship leader and project leader. Number 17 going through there is Fugo Tanaka. There are, let me get this right, 3 Japanese riders in this championship: Fugo Tanaka, Miyu Nakahara and Kyoto Kobayashi. The number 4 that just went through there was the Thai rider Natapon Kalmun, and that's Arshad Rushdi, the only Singaporean rider here, and he is currently got the fastest time, so good to see him in this championship and at the top of the leaderboard in these tricky conditions. It looks like they're drying out a little bit, but still definitely wet conditions. So we've got Arshad at the top, Dekitiano second, third Warapong, and fourth Hayato Kobayashi. And James Frederick Jacobs, you might be able to see on the timing screen there, that's the number 9 bike, if you watch out for him. He's worth watching out for. Freddie Jacobs, as he's known, he also races in the Supersport 300 class in ASBK, the Australian Superbike Championship. and is one of the front runners there. There's Arshad, number 3, just had Dekiano move in front of him. So these are the quickest riders at the moment we're looking at in these conditions. So there's a mixture of riders here. Most of them are young aspiring riders. We interviewed Jagan Kumar, the veteran Indian superbike racer, who's using this to launch a comeback to his career. So it's hopefully going to turn into a late blossoming for Jagan Kumar. He's had some injuries. He says he's feeling better now. Leg injuries, a nice little twitch there from I think that was Warapong, the number 7. He's going through to complete a lap now, and that's 2:40 from him. That puts him just behind Agung Septian, the Indonesian. Agung Septian, we had a word with him yesterday during the rolling press conference we were doing during practice sessions, and he was quite an interesting, confident, put himself across well, and he has been going well. He hasn't quite got the results that you felt he might, having dropped back in 1 or 2 races at mid-distance, but definitely some quality there. So Warapong there, number 7, followed by number 2, Agung Septian, currently sitting at the top, and Dekitiano just behind them. So these are the 3 quickest riders out there currently. So we got Arshad, number 3. Warapong, Deki in there somewhere. Yeah, Arshad Rushdie, he's been bumped down to 5th in the leaderboard now. Back with Agung Septian, currently at the top. These conditions, good to see how these riders perform in the wet. So Arshad Rushdie, Singaporean rider. He owes his place in this championship, he was saying yesterday, to the support of his family from Singapore. Oh, and there's a big crash there. That is Arshad going down. He's okay, he's going to need a new helmet. He slid across there for a while on his helmet, but he jumped straight up again. It wasn't a hard knock. But that'll be the end of his session. Let's just take another look. Yep, back stepped out, and he just ruined the paint job on his helmet. That's going to take a bit of buffing out. So that's the end of Arshad Rushdie's session. Although he was doing very well in these wet conditions, he could be satisfied with that so far. Not the crash, of course, but and he's good enough to get himself back in. We never like to see people sliding along on their heads, but that did look like quite a gentle landing. But he'll have himself checked over, because it's very important. Somebody takes a knock to the head to make sure that they're okay before they race again. So Agung stays at the top. There's him and Warapong close together in the 239s, 239.1. And then Freddie Jacobs on a 240, currently in third place. Let's just watch Arshad come back to the pit area for TVS. 4 minutes left on the clock for this first free practice session. They'll be back out at the end of the afternoon at 10 to 5 for free practice 2. Hopefully it'll be dry by then. Just taking a look at the sky there, which is a pretty futile thing to do. I'll just keep my eyes on the screen and see what we're doing there. So Agung is having a little cruise around there. So some of the best riders that have shown so far in the championship are near the top of the timing screen now. Agung, of course, being one of them. Orapong Malahuan currently second. They're very close together on time, just a few thousandths between them. That's Jagan Kubar, number 1. Good to see him back on screen. Just flashing across the line there was Felix Fleming. First time back after eye-wateringly horrible crash at Sepang back in May, if I remember rightly, when we were last here. But yeah, he's coming back from injury. It's good that he's back out on the bike, because he has been training really hard. But of course, being on the bike is the most important thing, on-bike fitness. It's number 10, Felix Fleming. Number 1, Jagan Kumar. Jagan Kumar currently 9th. He's done a 2:43, so that's 4 seconds slower than the top rider there, Agung Septian. Miyu Nakahara also on 2:43. There's a little group of riders there on 2:43s. Including Deepak Ravikumar and KY Ahmed. Number 6 there is Miyu Nakahara, the only female rider in this TVS One Make Championship. Had a couple of decent finishes there in Sugo last time out. And doing a steady job here. Just a little slower than Jagan Kumar. 2 Thai riders in this. Watcherin Tuptimon, who we've seen in the Thailand Talent Cup and perhaps the Asia Talent Cup as well, I do believe. And Natapon Kalmun. So 2 Thai riders here. They're in 6th and 7th place. 240 and 241, not much between those. We come back to Jagan Kumar, well-known superbike rider and star in his native India, but 5 pretty rough years with injury, and credit to him for the determination that he's coming back into racing, and he's really happy to be back in this championship. That's him, number 1, with that distinctive blue helmet. Distinctive helmets are always good when the bikes look the same. So there you have it, number 10, Felix Fleming, with Miyu and Jagan just after them, and the checkered flag is out, so that'll be their last flying lap. So a steady session for TVS in pretty tricky conditions. Not very wet, but also not dry. Let's just take a look now and confirm the results. In first place was the Indonesian Agun Septian with a 2:39.1. Also on a 2:39 was Vorapong Malahuan. He was second fastest, and then Hayatu Kobayashi in third, followed by Freddie Jacobs in P4. Fifth, Dekitiano Aldi, second place in the championship. Natupon behind him. Wacharin Tuptimon in seventh, and eighth Arshad Rusti. Ninth, Jagan Kumar. 10th, Mew Nakahara. 11th, Deepak Ravi Kumar. 12th, KY Ahmed, and 13th, Fugo Tanaka, and 14th, the returning Varis Felix Fleming. That concludes the TVS One Make Championship. The ARRC sessions will continue into qualifying this afternoon. But now we will go back to in the next session. So in 10 minutes time, we'll be back with the two of the MSBK classes, and Daniel Bogas will be back with you for that. And this is Barry Russell. I'll see you after lunch, where we'll come back for the Super Pole competition, not to be missed, I promise you. That will be at 10 to 2 Malaysia time. I look forward to seeing you then.